I had gotten a late start to the day, and by the time I arrived on location, it was already approaching 1300. Within the first 10 minutes of me getting there, the way was already cleared for the eastbound red-hot I-008. Once or twice a year, the military base at Fort Drum, New York, which is home to the 10th Mountain Division, does an equipment rotation, meaning they take the old equipment out and replace it with new ones. We've come up to Marion to catch one of those equipment shuttles. On this occasion, a Kansas City Southern AC 4400, still painted in its gray paint scheme, is on the point of the train. Due to some complications at Cincinnati, the train wasn't going to be here for another few hours, and I was going to wait it out for as long as I possibly could. So let's take this time and watch a few movements pass by the station. Less than 2 minutes later, westbound train number M364 comes around the corner and across the diamonds. If only the train arrived a couple minutes earlier, it would have been a perfectly timed shot of the head end meeting the tail end of the I-008. With the two Indy Line trains out of the way, the dispatcher clears the right-of-way for southbound train L339 to come across. Today's L339 has 4 engines, totaling nearly 18,000 horsepower and 34 cars. Seems a bit underpowered, don't you think? In the time frame that I was out, this was just one of only 2 trains that would run on the Columbus sub on this day. This southbound grain train, numbered 42N, has an unusual leader. The leader is one of the 80 ET-44ACs that Norfolk Southern owns, but with one notable difference in that it's missing its white unibrow. It was rebuilt like this after an accident, and it gives it a completely different look compared to the rest of the fleet. Recently, I was asked by a viewer that whenever I'm in Marion, why do I not shoot from the top of the tower? After all, it is the best spot. While it's true for still photographers, for videographers like myself, well, this is why. The entire tower vibrates as trains assault the diamonds, as this M265 demonstrates. Even with the video stabilized as best as I can get it, you can still tell that the camera is shaking with each pounding of the diamond. The vibration is even more apparent with the passage of this northbound NS hopper train. At this point, the military train was underway, heading up the Toledo sub, but a crew wasn't called in Crestline until after 1 o'clock in the morning. Even with the train cleared to do 60 miles an hour, for the railfans who were planning to tough it out, our hopes rested on how fast the dispatchers could get it here. In the meantime, NS-118 comes across the diamonds as the sun continues to get lower in the western skies. After 363 cleared Marion, nothing else passed through until after the sun went down. I missed M217 going westbound, but I was just as happy to see this eastbound ethanol train show up. 2 rebuilt engines, 1 EMD, and 1 GE take care of the train with ease. A pair of Union Pacific motors trail on train 19M tonight. Up until this point, this was about the only interesting thing that had shown up throughout the entire day. Southbound train number 273 passes through completely by surprise. Norfolk Southern was starting to put on a good show, as they had 2 more trains that they had to run. Unfortunately, it was approaching 11 o'clock at night, and we won't get to see that happen. At this point, I got a phone call from a friend, informing me that the train I was hunting, number S568, was through Ridgeway and approaching Marion. With no opposing trains, it would be here in about 15 to 20 minutes. I began thinking where I wanted to go shoot this train, and after a little bit, I eventually decided to go to a spot east of town that I had surveyed before, but never seen anything at. At 23:38, CSX Train S568 passes by the fertilizer plant east of town, which is just beyond the control point at CP95. I know you can't see the train very well, given that it's just past 11:30 at night, but it's the way it turned out to be. After S568's passage, I headed home, satisfied that I got what I came for. If the train hadn't been delayed in Cincinnati, I could have got the shot I wanted to at Galleon over by the depot, but it didn't turn out that way. This would be the conclusion of yet another one of my numerous little day trips, until the next day, when I went up to Attica Junction to see this. Train I166, aka CPKC train number 132, passes through Attica Junction with 4 brand new CPKC painted engines up front. This is my first time seeing the CPKC brand name, and I can imagine I'll see many more of it. With the passage of I-166, this brings to a close another one of my videos documenting a day out on the high iron. Recently, I surpassed 800 subscribers on this channel, which is a monumental occasion for me. When I started this channel 10 years ago with the goal of documenting Ohio railroading, I didn't think my content would catch on. I'm glad I was wrong. I am not a monetized channel, and I don't intend to be, so all of this was done through grit I didn't even know I was doing. Recently, I fulfilled a dream of mine of becoming a student at The Ohio State University with the hopes of getting a master's degree in history. I do not intend to stop uploading videos anytime soon, and I will continue to make videos on stuff that I've seen out there on the high iron. With that in mind, I'm signing off for now. And as always, no matter the situation, go Buckeyes!